Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. The new album is called Terrain, and I've been doing playthroughs of each track. Well, we're up to track 3. I originally called this track In the Path, a Persistent Flower. Well, I was very inspired by this little blue flower that was living in the sidewalk in front of my house, and I had just bought Albion Neo from Spitfire. This track uses one of my favorite techniques and something I'm very interested in, which is a kind of hexachord approach to what my teacher used to call pandiatonicism. We don't really know exactly what the chord is. Simple moving lines intersect and create sonorities which are ambiguous. We don't really know what they are. Well, it's easy to talk about this kind of stuff, but let's just take a look, shall we? All right, so there are only 3 tracks. There's a morphing brass pad that we're going to see in green in the center of our screen, bass strings anchoring everything, and a melody, which I added last, that I use really to highlight the textures of each chord. I'm very interested in the chord textures here. Let's play it and we'll talk through. Okay, so it begins with a very visible inverted G minor chord. And you can hear the pad has a lot of pitch modulation on it. But the first bass note and the second bass note are B flat to C. Well, what key are we in? I think that low E flat suddenly turns what felt like a G minor chord into kind of an E flat major 7. That ambiguity is fascinating. Because there's a good amount of reverb, the textures really build up. The first 3 melodic gestures are variations of each other. 3-note phrase here, different 3 notes, and then a 5-note phrase here, which gradually makes its way down to the C. And then we have a harmonized version of the same gesture. The bass doesn't pay off in quite the same way. Tiny variations on every time we hear a melody, every time we hear a version of the motif, keeps the listener's interest, even if it is tranquil music that doesn't have a lot of motion. That whole section, and now we're at 2 minutes into the piece, felt like the end of something for me. And so now the bass line is doubled in length, that E flat, but double. The D, doubled. This is kind of like one of the centers, the empty center of the donut. Eye in the storm, so to speak. And in fact, if you look ahead, what's coming is a real strong statement of the E flat in the brass pad. The D goes away and suddenly things feel more centered around E flat. The D comes back. This is probably the thickest section of the piece. We're hearing 4, 5 notes at once. Maybe you've been keeping track. There are no A's or A flats anywhere here. That's what makes this a hexachordal mode. 6 tones. Now here we're sitting into that G minor space again. So time to take a little deep breath, regroup, let your ear get a little bit easy. E flat, D in the bottom. And then we're going to end with something kind of beautiful that we haven't really heard before. The F to G underneath the melody, some fairly strong dissonances. It feels to me like this functions like a cadential moment. It functions to point us towards an end. And the end that it points us to is more or less where we began, without even a third, G's and a D. A persistent flower. So I wanted it to be beautiful. I wanted it to be ambiguous. I wanted to explore Albion Neo, a Spitfire library that I really love. And I love this hexachordal, pan-diatonic sonority. Well, I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe. I'd like to hear what you're working on. Don't hesitate to comment below. I've gotten some great questions from my past few videos, and I always try to respond. I'll see you next time.